Rangers in meltdown. James Tavernier opens up as pressure explodes behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Ali McCOIST slams the board for ignoring proven talent like Sima and Cerny as £10 million are wasted on a striker who's barely touched the ball. And with Russell Martin clinging to his job by a thread, Chairman Andrew Cavenagh is backing him from across the Atlantic, fuel to a raging fire. Chris Sutton refuses to admit Rangers are bigger than Leeds, but the facts say otherwise, and the fan fury's boiling over. And before we dive in, I just want to give a massive thank you to you, the legends who are always in the comments, keeping the debate alive and pushing this channel forward. I've seen the names True Blues 56, Bob Hendry, and Jeanette McConnell leading the charge with unreal passion. Big thanks as well to Alex Gover, David Greer, William Logan, Craig Knox, and so many others who keep this channel alive with their voices. And trust me, your support doesn't go unnoticed. You're the heart of this community. You've got every right to feel furious. Here we are, sitting 10th in the Scottish Premiership, outclassed at home by Hearts, and instead of taking decisive action, Chairman Andrew Cavenagh is phoning in from across the Atlantic to give Russell Martin his full backing. You heard that right, full backing. The same Russell Martin who now holds the worst points per game average of any permanent Rangers manager in the club's history. After a defeat that left Ibrox howling in disgust with every corner of the stadium calling for Martin's head, the man at the top has looked you in the eye and said, "Nah, we're sticking with him." And you're expected to sit there and clap politely. Not a chance. Kavanagh's made it clear he's not pulling the trigger. Not now, anyway. And Martin is set to lead us into that League Cup quarter-final against Hibs next weekend. But let's be honest, does anyone seriously believe he's going to suddenly figure it out? 12 matches in, 3 wins, and 19 goals conceded. That's not a project. That's a disaster in real time. And don't forget the numbers behind it. Over £20 million spent in the summer, most of it pushed through by Kevin Thelwell, who apparently is so tied to Martin, he's threatening to resign if his mate gets the sack. Is this a football club or a boys' club? Thelwell's record signing, Youssef Shermati, hasn't scored a single goal, not one, and this is supposed to be the blueprint for success. And let's be honest, this isn't just Martin failing. This is a failure of leadership, top to bottom, and Cavenagh, who came in promising ruthless ambition, now looks like a rabbit caught in headlights. He's not at Ibrox yet. He'll be flying in for the Hibs match, but this wasn't a crisis trip. This was already planned like Martin's football, slow, naive, and completely out of touch with the reality you're living through every week. The worst part, you can see it, I can see it, but those in charge can't, or worse, won't. If Russell Martin fails again and still keeps his job, should you start turning your anger towards Andrew Cavenagh and the owners themselves, and not just the manager? You were told this summer was going to be different. You were told the investment was coming, the ambition was real, and finally, Rangers were going to outmuscle the rest of the league in the transfer market. But instead of signing players who've already proven they can do the job at Ibrox, Kevin Thelwell went and dropped £10 million on a striker who's yet to score a professional goal in Britain. Abdallah Sima and Václav Cerny, 2 lads who knew the club, knew the league, had the stats to back it up, and had shown they could handle the pressure of pulling on the jersey. They were right there. Sima, 16 goals in 40 games. Cerny, 18 in 52. And what do you get instead? Youssef Shermati, a striker who's about as threatening as a soggy pie at Fir Park. Ali McCOIST nailed it. You don't gamble with £10 million when you've got players in front of you who've already done the business out up in Govan. Instead, Rangers let both Sima and Cerny walk out the door, snapped up by Besiktas and Lens, and now they're flourishing. While we're sitting 10th in the table, watching Hearts stroll into Ibrox and take 3 points like they owned the place. And if the irony wasn't painful enough, it was Lawrence Shankland, the exact striker Rangers have been linked with for nearly 2 years, who buried us with a double. A striker who, by McCOIST's own words, could have won Rangers the league last season. It's beyond frustrating. It's negligent. Thelwell and Martin have sold you a vision that's already falling apart. The squad's brittle. The style of play is dull. The decisions are baffling. And now you're left wondering if this massive summer investment was just a flashy distraction from a complete lack of football sense behind the scenes. If Martin goes, Thelwell has to follow. Because if the man who pushed for Chermiti over Sima and Cerny is still making decisions come January, we'll be lucky to finish in the top 6. Is Kevin Thelwell the real problem at Rangers? Howd, and has his transfer disaster already done more damage than Russell Martin ever could? James Tavernier has spoken, and for once he didn't hide behind the usual cliches. He's come out and admitted it's embarrassing, not disappointing, not frustrating. Embarrassing. And you know what? That's probably the first time in weeks you've heard someone inside Ibrox speak with even a fraction of the emotion you feel every time you watch this team stumble around like it's a pre-season friendly at Dumbarton, sitting 10th in the league, 4 draws, 1 defeat, no identity, no fight, and until now, hardly a peep from the dressing room that showed any real grasp of the shambles they've served up. Now, Tavernier says they're ashamed, that the hurt is real, that the squad, young and unsettled as it might be, knows they're failing you. He even points out that football's changed. It has. Because back in the day, if you turned in performances like this in a Rangers jersey, you'd be clearing out your locker before Monday. He talks about players needing to stick together, about the senior lads being the ones raising their voices. But where was that fire? On the pitch, you can scream in the dressing room all day long, but if you're jogging back while Hearts are walking through your midfield, you're not leading, you're spectating. And let's not brush over this line. This is new to a lot of players that have come in. That right there might be the most telling quote of the lot, because if shame and pressure are new concepts for this squad, then what in the name of Walter Smith have we recruited? Rangers isn't the place to learn what pressure is, it's the place to handle it. And if you can't, you shouldn't be here. Now, Tavernier's trying to show leadership, and that's fine. But when you're the captain of Rangers, talking about shame and embarrassment without backing it up with results, just pours more petrol on the fire. If James Tavernier truly feels embarrassed and ashamed, how long can he keep the armband before someone else steps up and demands more, not just in the dressing room, but on the pitch where it actually matters? Right, let's cut through the nonsense. Robbie Savage posed a cracking wee question to Chris Sutton. Are Rangers and Celtic on a different level to Leeds United? And just like you'd expect, Sutton danced round it like a player avoiding a red card at Pittodrie. He threw in the usual line about not underestimating the size of the old firm, but wouldn't give a straight answer. And you know exactly why. Because the moment anyone down south admits that Rangers and even Celtic dwarf clubs like Leeds in stature, the English football bubble bursts. Let's get one thing straight. Leeds are a big club by English standards. History, passion, proper fan base, but we're not talking about just any club here. We're talking about Rangers, 49 league titles, European pedigree, a stadium with soul, not a half-empty corporate box zone, a club where pressure isn't measured in ticket sales, but in generations of expectations. Rangers aren't just expected to win, you demand it. At Leeds, they celebrate a playoff final, like they've won the Champions League. At Ibrox, if you don't win by 2 goals, you're getting booed off the park. That's the level we're talking about. And look at Joe Rothwell at Leeds. He was a squad player, a rotational option in the Championship. At Rangers, he's in the starting 11 every week. That should tell you everything about the depth comparison between the squads. But it doesn't tell you anything about the scale of the club. Because Rangers isn't just a football club, it's a religion, it's identity, it's Saturday afternoons passed down from grandfathers to grandsons. You don't just support Rangers, you belong to it. Parag Marathi might have thought running Rangers was going to be a carbon copy of Leeds. Throw in some cash, make a couple of marketing decisions, and the rest takes care of itself. But this isn't Elland Road, this is Ibrox. And he's already discovering that you can't sit on the fence when the walls are closing in. If Leeds United are supposedly on the same level as Rangers, why is it that players who can't get a sniff at Elland Road are walking straight into the starting effort at Ibrox? And why does that not spark more outrage from you? Comment below what you think about the news. Don't forget to leave a like on the video to help me out. I post videos every day talking about our Rangers, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on the latest news. See you soon.